On tiptoe, she soon discovered a seat, when what was her surprise to find Alizon asleep within it. She was sure it was Alizon, for she had touched her hair and face, and she felt surprised that the contact had not awakened her. Still more surprised did she feel that the young girl had not retired to rest. Again she stepped forward in search of another chair, when a gleam of light suddenly shot from one side of the bed, and the tapestry, masking the entrance to the closet, was slowly drawn aside. From behind it, the next moment, appeared the same female figure, robed in white, that she had previously beheld in the abbot's chamber. The figure held a lamp in one hand and a small box in the other, and, to her unspeakable horror, disclosed the livid and contorted countenance of Mistress Nutter. Dreadful, though undefined, suspicions crossed her mind, and she feared, if discovered, she would be sacrificed to the fury of this strange and terrible woman. Luckily, where she stood, though Mistress Nutter was revealed to her, she herself was screened from view by the hangings of the bed, and, looking around for a hiding place, she observed that the mysterious wardrobe close behind her was open, and, without a moment's hesitation, she slipped into the covert, and drew the door to noiselessly. But her curiosity overmastered her fear, and, firmly believing some magical rite was about to be performed, she sought for means of beholding it. Nor was she long in discovering a small eyelet hole in the carving which commanded the room. Unconscious of any other presence than that of Alizon, whose stupor appeared to occasion her no uneasiness, Mistress Nutter placed the lamp upon the table, made fast the door, and, muttering some unintelligible words, unlocked the box. It contained two singularly shaped glass vessels, the one filled with a bright sparkling liquid, and the other with a greenish coloured unguent. Pouring forth a few drops of the liquid into a glass near her, Mistress Nutter swallowed them, and then, taking some of the unguent upon her hands, proceeded to anoint her face and neck with it, exclaiming as she did so, "Emen hetan, emen hetan," words that fixed themselves upon the listener's memory. Wondering what would follow, Dorothy gazed on, when she suddenly lost sight of Mistress Nutter, and, after looking for her as far as her range of vision, limited by the aperture, would extend, she became convinced that she had left the room. All remaining quiet, she ventured, after a while, to quit her hiding place, and, flying to Alizon, tried to waken her, but in vain. The poor girl retained the same moveless attitude, and appeared plunged in a deathly stupor. Much frightened, Dorothy resolved to alarm the house, but some fears of Mistress Nutter restrained her, and she crept towards the closet to see whether that dread lady could be there. All was perfectly still, and, somewhat emboldened, she returned to the table, where the box, which was left open, and its contents unguarded, attracted her attention. What was the liquid in the phial? What could it do? These were questions she asked herself, and, longing to try the effect, she ventured at last to pour forth a few drops and taste it. It was like a potent distillation, and she became instantly sensible of a strange bewildering excitement. Presently her brain reeled, and she laughed wildly. Never before had she felt so light and buoyant, and wings seemed scarcely wanting to enable her to fly. An idea occurred to her. The wondrous liquid might arouse Alizon. The experiment should be tried at once, and, dipping her finger in the phial, she touched the lips of the sleeper, who sighed deeply and opened her eyes. Another drop, and Alizon was on her feet, gazing at her in astonishment, and laughing wildly as herself. Poor girls, how wild and strange they looked, and how unlike themselves! "Whither are you going?" cried Alizon. "To the moon, to the stars, anywhere," rejoined Dorothy, with a laugh of frantic glee. "I will go with you," cried Alizon, echoing the laugh. "Here and there, here and there," exclaimed Dorothy, taking her hand. "Emen hetan, emen hetan." As the mystic words were uttered, they started away. It seemed as if no impediments could stop them. How they crossed the closet, passed through a sliding panel into the abbot's room, entered the oratory, and from it descended by a secret staircase to the garden, they knew not. But there they were. gliding swiftly along in the moonlight, like winged spirits. What took them towards the conventual church they could not say, but they were drawn thither as the ship was irresistibly dragged towards the loadstone rock described in the Eastern legend. Nothing surprised them then, or they might have been struck by the dense vapour enveloping the monastic ruins and shrouding them from view. Nor was it until they entered the desecrated fabric that any consciousness of what was passing around returned to them. Their ears were then assailed by a wild hubbub of discordant sounds, hootings and croakings, as of owls and ravens, shrieks and jarring cries, as of night birds, bellowing, as of cattle, groans and dismal sounds, mixed with unearthly laughter. Undefined and extraordinary shapes, whether men or women, beings of this world or of another, they could not tell, though they judged them to be the latter, flew past with wild whoops and piercing cries, flapping the air as if with great leathern bat-like wings, or bestriding black, monstrous, misshapen steeds. Fantastical and grotesque were these objects, yet hideous and appalling. Now and then a red and fiery star would whiz, crackling through the air, and then exploding break into numerous pale phosphoric lights, that danced a while overhead, and then flitted away among the ruins. The ground seemed to heave and tremble beneath the footsteps, as if the graves were opening to give forth their dead, while toads and hissing reptiles crept forth. Appalled, and yet partly restored to herself by this confused and horrible din, Alizon stood still, and kept fast hold of Dorothy, who, seemingly under a stronger influence than herself, was drawn towards the eastern end of the fane, where a fire appeared to be blazing, a strong ruddy glare being cast upon the broken roof of the choir, and the mouldering arches round it. The noises around them suddenly ceased, and all the uproar seemed concentrated near the spot where the fire was burning. Dorothy besought her friend so earnestly to let her see what was going forward, that Alizon reluctantly and tremblingly assented, and they moved slowly towards the transept, taking care to keep under the shelter of the columns. On reaching the last pillar, behind which they remained, an extraordinary and fearful spectacle burst upon them. As they had supposed, a large fire was burning in the midst of the choir, the smoke of which, ascending in eddying wreaths, formed a dark canopy overhead, where it was mixed with the steam issuing from a large, black, bubbling cauldron set on the blazing embers. Around the fire were ranged, in a wide circle, an assemblage of men and women, but chiefly of the latter, and of these almost all old, hideous, and of malignant aspect, their grim and sinister features looking ghastly in the lurid light. Above them, amid the smoke and steam, wheeled bat and flittermouse, horned owl and screech owl, in mazy circles. The weird assemblage chattered together in some wild jargon, mumbling and muttering spells and incantations, chanting fearfully with hoarse, cracked voices, a wild chorus, and anon breaking into a loud and long continued peal of laughter. Then there was more mumbling, chattering, and singing, and one of the troop, producing a wallet, hobbled forward. She was a fearful old crone, hunchbacked, toothless, blear eyed, bearded, halt, with huge gouty feet swathed in flannel. As she cast in the ingredients one by one, she chanted thus: "Head of monkey, brain of cat, eye of weasel, tail of rat, juice of mugwort, mastic, myrrh, all within the pot I stir." "Well sung, Madam Old Heels," cried a little old man, whose doublet and hose were of rusty black, with a short cloak of the same hue over his shoulders. "Well sung, Madam Old Heels," he cried, advancing as the old witch retired, amid a roar of laughter from the others, and chanting as he filled the cauldron: "Here is foam from a mad dog's lips, gathered beneath the moon's eclipse, ashes of a shroud consumed, and with deadly vapour fumed. These within the mess I cast. Stir the cauldron, stir it fast." A red haired witch then took his place, singing: "Here are snakes from out the river, bones of toad and sea calf's liver, swine's flesh fattened on her brood.
Wolf's tooth, hare's foot, weasel's